Today I'm going to talk about finding a plot of land in Italy when you actually live abroad. This is quite some challenge. My family and I were left a plot of land, and I'm going to explain how we went about finding it, which we did, and the problems we had to resolve on the way. Before I start, a bit about me. I'm Italian, I live abroad, I have an Italian passport, but I'm not a lawyer. The first thing you need to do is gather all the information you have on the land, and that's contained in the deeds, which you should have. Don't forget to look out for any old photos, film, cine film, video, all this kind of stuff, as this is going to help you. And in my case, I'd digitized some film, and if you know how to do this, I did some color correction because some of the film had been damaged, as this would help us identify the land. Depending on how old the deeds are, the details can be hard to read. Now, I'm assuming some are handwritten. The ones I had were typed. You need to identify the section of the deeds that refers to the land. It tends to be quite a small part of it. Naturally, this is going to be written in Italian, so you're going to need an Italian speaker to help you. But the good thing is, a lot of the information on the deeds are about the transaction and the buyers and the sellers. That doesn't really matter. The bit that you're really looking for is the bit that specifies the land. So what do you find in a deed? The first thing it'll do is define the zone, zona. So this is a sub-district of an area. And this is often related to either the region or a reference to the nearest big town. The things you are specifically looking for are the descriptors of the land and keywords. For example, particelle is the plot number. These are really important because this is how the land registry uniquely references your land. There's also a statement of the estimated land surface of your land as well. Remember, this is metrics, this is in meters, so you might need to convert this. This is really important for the valuation. Another thing that's really important for the land is whether it's got planning permission. Do you have permission to build on it? So a lot of land is agricola verde, which is agricultural land with no permission to build. If you've got the golden ticket and you do have planning permission, it's called edificabile. This means you can build on it, and obviously this seriously increases the value of the property. So this is where the fun begins, the address. The address of particularly land where it doesn't have a building on it can be quite difficult to identify, particularly if you're looking in a small coastal town which changes over time. The first thing to look at, and I came unstuck with this, was to identify, is it est, ovest, nord or sud? This is north, south, east or west. What I found is the same address can be duplicated in the same little town. So the same street name can be used in the east and used again in the west. Staying on the fun bits, roads have multiple references, and the roads as they're identified in one road can be different from the way they're identified in another. It's probably our best to give you examples. So one of the simple ones is Via Napoli, and remember east or west. Via is the word for street. An alternative here is via, a number, and est. So the road can just have a number rather than a name. And then finally you can have a via, a number, est, and Napoli, as in the street name. So that's the ideal, but in my experience in small coastal towns in the same area, the roads are marked up differently from street to street. And the best news is some streets did not have a road sign at all. So this can be inconsistent, and I had the real fun experience that the naming of the street that I was looking for had evolved over a period of time. Courage, my friends, we did find it, so don't give up. The local planning office can be really useful for you. Assuming you've got the details of where the land is, you'll need to tell them what you're looking for. They can help you find the the local detailed maps for your district, going down to your street, and plot number. Now, the difficulty is I couldn't get book a meeting, and obviously I had to travel to get there. The office wasn't open 5 or 6 days a week. It wasn't open all day. I had to look up online, I had to queue, and it took ages. Things you need to know. Catasto is the word for land registry. So the man in the planning office helped me find the plots of land on the land registry map for that district. And it was a really detailed one. And it was really good because it not only showed me the street, it identified buildings on the street, which helped me identify where the land was. An example would be mappa catastale est or of est, a number, let's say 4, as in a subdivision in the district. So there's a large overall map, and then there's a sub-district map for each section, which goes into a lot of detail. And this was free. He didn't charge me for this. He printed out the map for me, the land registry map. He highlighted my plots of land on it, which were obviously the areas with the particella number, the plot number. Time for the site visit. The bad news is the first time we attempted the site visit, we were completely unprepared and we didn't find it. We were probably within 200 meters of where we were looking, and it took another couple of years before I could go back. So I'm underlining the importance to get it right and be prepared to not waste the trip. So I had details of the address. I had the land registry map, which went down to plot numbers. I had a very detailed Google map with details about how to get from somewhere specific on the seafront and how to navigate my way around. And I'm going to come to why, because navigating some of these towns is quite difficult. There are some one-way systems, and I had to allow for the fact that we couldn't go the road we wanted to. Some roads are narrow, and let's say if someone's parked their car on a narrow street, it's blocked for everyone else unless you're a really good driver in a really small car. Another factor you might overlook is if you're looking for land, and it took us about 30 minutes the second time around when I was really prepared. Bear in mind, you may well be doing this in midsummer and it's boiling hot, and what you don't want is to be traipsing around for hours in the summer looking for this. So, okay, the good news is once you've found it and you've counted your buildings down the road, so you know where you're looking, which side or whatever, be prepared to record, video, document, whatever you need to do, and back up your files and videos as you're doing it, because I actually lost my phone during my trip and I could have wasted site visit 2 if I'd not been careful. Obviously look for things that don't change over time, like walls, gates, buildings, those kind of things. Plants and trees, they can change massively. And obviously if you identify squatters, you're just going to have to go to the police and report it. The Italian state is now in the process of digitising its IT services, which is a good and a bad thing. This could make life a lot easier for anyone who's living abroad, which is a good thing. The bad news is it's additional bureaucracy you need to set up, but once you've got it set up, it can be more useful. I think, in my experience, each comune, which is each area, is at a different stage with setting up its IT systems, and the rules are slightly different. But they may well be requiring you to have combinations of things to access these services remotely. And I'll give you examples of stuff I've come across. They may or may not apply to you. They may require that you're registered to IRE. So this is the Registry of Italian Citizens who are resident abroad. If you want to know more about that, I've produced a separate video. They may require you to register for SPID, which is part of the process of setting up an Italian ID card. Again, if you're not sure about that one, I've produced a video on the Italian ID card. This is kind of a digital identity authentication service. The final thing is Codice Fiscale. In my experience, quite early on in the process, you need to have an Italian tax code. You may well need to do this because of land taxes, things like that. If you've enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like and maybe subscribe to the channel. That way you can enjoy more of this content. Thank you. Click here for some more videos you may be interested in.